Hey, folks, welcome to a live edition of the Intrepid radio program. Not right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. They're playing a rerun tonight. I did not get a chance today to record a new show, and so we're doing this one. Hold on, I got my lights are kind of weird tonight. Hang on. That's a little too bright. It's messing with me. All right. There. Hopefully that's a little better. My screen seems awfully close to me. So we're going to move that a bit. There we go. All right. Oh, I still got this one. That's my COVID mask. When I'm not wearing my Trump one, which hangs on the stick in the van, I put this on so I can, play bandit and pull that up over my face. There you go. So, other than that, it's just styling otherwise. So, welcome to the show tonight. And I see we've got some people lining up and gathering up. I already said hi to some of you. Master Finn, I saw that you were there. Oh, here you are. You're back. Good to see you. And Susie Q and Matthew Sainsbury. And who else we got in here? I thought I said hi to somebody else as well. Maybe not yet, but they're coming. And so, Roger Rabbit, how you doing? I think I saw you the other day on Rocky's show, or it was Sunday morning. Might have been yesterday, Sunday morning. And I don't think I ever got a chance to say hello to you. So hello for yesterday and today. Good to have you here, Roger. And I think I saw Carly yesterday as well. So say hi to Carly for me. I hope everything's going well there. And you're getting your supper. You'll be right back. Says Susie Q. Hey, Morgan Snow. Good to see you. Nice to have you here tonight. And wow, I feel like everything's really up close in my face tonight. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe that's there we go. My screen was just big. Everything on my screen was set up big. There, that's a little better. And hold on, I'm going to take this off because it is irritating me now that I don't need to be wearing it for any reason. There we go. All right. Whew, got that off. And so my son had scouts tonight. And so I took him to Boy Scouts. And we left here about 6 o'clock-ish, 6:30. So about almost 3 hours ago. And we got him to Scouts. And he picked up a friend that we took to Scouts his first time. His friend Riley. And I insist Riley talks like Sid from Ice Age. Not fully. He's not a full-on Sid, but I was listening to him talk. Now, Riley is, I know he's not listening. He's only 11 years old, and his parents probably aren't listening. But I will say this. Riley is kind of an odd kid. Not in that he's not a nice kid. He's very intelligent. He's like over-the-top intelligent, but he's got like glasses that match his personality for being over the top intelligent. And he's kind of redheaded. He's a ginger and he's big. He's a big kid, but not big in a muscular way. Maybe he will be one day, but right now he's kind of big and a little wobbly looking. But he plays football in 5th grade. So, elementary school football. But he talks like Sid from Ice Age. If you haven't heard Sid, I was listening to my son talking with Riley in the back seat while I was driving them around tonight. And Riley's like, yeah, so I stacked up against the football and, we were playing. It was like wild, that guy I was against the line on in offense. Yeah, he was like, he put the stink in extinction after I was done with him. Whoo! And, that's Riley. That's the way he talked. So I got to drive the boys around tonight, hear some boy talk going on in the back. And, such as 11-year-olds will do. So, is Carly here as well? I said hi to Roger, and I said, say hi to Carly. I don't see her. Hey, how you doing, Morgan Snow? I saw you, Corey Blake. How you doing, Corey? Good to see you. My wife is just on the other side of that wall, sitting in the bathroom on a stool, cleaning out the big cabinet that's all full of everybody's stuff. My wife goes on those kicks every now and then. If she looks for something and can't find it, it's like she gets crazed and she will spend an hour and a half to 2 hours reorganizing that thing. So that's what she's in there doing now. I'm buffering, or I'm buffering on your end? I feel like I'm doing okay over here. I haven't noticed any buffering from my end. So it might be individual hookups on your internets. So, oh, hey, she's sitting right next to him. Okay, Corey, or Carly, and Roger, good to see you. I haven't had a chance to read everything that's said. She's sitting right next to you, Roger says. She says hello. She's having an at-home EEG. So this is a much-needed reprieve. That's good. That's good to hear. I hope she's doing all right. Hope you're doing all right, Carly. And Barbie D, good to see you. And anybody else slip in? Scott Lowry, nice to see you. And what else we got? Who else we got? What's going on here? So I decided to go live tonight, not for any reason other than I had not prepped a pre-recorded show. Now I could go into the show I was going to do tonight. I don't think I will. I think we'll just talk. I want to leave this up to you guys as a time where you can ask some questions of me. And I know we get questions and answers and junk going on all the time. But if you've got anything you want to ask of me or feel you ask me, I'm a pretty open book. So I'm totally willing to talk about things. If I need to, I'll call Rainey in here if you need to ask a question to her. And so this is kind of a question and answer time throughout the show tonight. We'll see how that goes. As well, I wanted to let you know, as I mentioned yesterday morning, that I'm going to be launching on this channel on my YouTube a membership page. You'll see a little join button will come up down near the subscribe button near every video. And nothing's going to change. You can always come in here and listen to the show for free. This show for free every day, 5 days a week, and on Sunday. You can go see the archives for free. However, I'm going to establish a membership, and I'm doing this to help generate maybe that little bit of income that helps do that revenue stream that helps me do some things with this program. And that revenue stream is going to cost any one of you like $1.99 per month for a basic Intrepid membership. And then there will be a $4.99 or $5 a month if you want the super extended, hyper private, conspiratorial secret membership. And I don't know what I'm going to name it that. It's going to be something like that, maybe shorter. And that's going to get you some extras and some perks. And those perks are going to look like private question and answers, private videos that nobody else has a chance to see. That's going to allow you to say we do a show and it's simulcast with the radio show. We'll come in after that with private extended show. And so you can come over, listen to the show, and then we'll extend the show for members. And so once again, you're all members anyway. You're basic members for nothing, for free. You get to come here like it's always been. But I'm going to do that little $1.99 and $4.99 memberships to expand a little bit here. Why are we? Hold on, I have children coming in. Why are we in the office?
Kindle lost again.
Okay.
No fun.
Why don't you guys go out? You don't need it right now. You got school tomorrow.
I have to bring it back to school tomorrow.
Okay, you'll find it. Good night. All right. Children can't ever. So, Leslie, I appreciate it. You'll just put a week's donation towards it, Scotty. Well, I appreciate that. That's going to be a monthly charge, by the way. And you got to sign up for it. You got to join it as soon as I haven't launched it yet, Leslie or anybody else. And launching that is, you'll have to actually click into that, and because it's all handled through YouTube. I'll let you know when the time comes what to do. And Matthew says Pompeii and Herculaneum is now a frozen and volcanic ash. Even the victims you can see trapped as statues in ash. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing, Matthew. That's been something I've seen those statues frozen in the ash for at least 25 years. It's an amazing thing they found when they found that. Now, did you know that there's only about, and all of you, did you know that Pompeii, with all you hear about Pompeii, is still only about a tenth excavated? The rest is still sitting beneath the ash. Isn't that crazy when you think about that? When you see all that's been excavated and uncovered there already? What still lies beneath that we haven't seen yet? There's a documentary you can look for. I found it on YouTube, and I don't remember who put it out, but it was on Pompeii. I think it was History Channel, but I'm not positive of that. The archaeologists are doing some of the new work there, and they just uncovered some new things over this last year in Pompeii that nobody's ever seen before since the volcano erupted there. So there you go. And let's see what else we got. Hey, if you've got a question, by the way, of me, you want to ask me any questions then about anything, you can put it in all caps so I don't miss it. Corey Blake says, Scotty, can we talk about the men's rights movement? We can. I had actually had some guys working. They weren't working on my behalf. There were some guys I contacted back when I was going through my divorce to make sure that I was doing the right things, that I was getting the kind of coverage I needed and the help I needed. So yeah, that's a good topic. I think we could do that. We could look into some of the men's rights stuff. And for me, that men's rights stuff took the form of when I was divorced from my ex-wife. We had separated in, was it late 2000 or late 1999? I believe it was late 1999. And we were separated throughout 2000. And we started the custody stuff. We had, of course, my twin daughters, who in 2000 were 8 years old, 9 years old. And my son, Sam, who was an infant. And literally wasn't even a year old yet. And that whole process started. And it was 2001. It became final somewhere in that scheme of time. And so I had to do a lot of fighting. Because, as you know, some of you who know the story, my ex-wife disappeared with the kids. We were supposed to go out of town one weekend around Thanksgiving of 1993. And I'm just trying to remember the date because this was a long stretched out process. We were supposed to go out of town and she disappeared and I couldn't find my kids. I came back home. She was supposed to go with me, bailed at the last minute and said, hey, you go. You deserve a break. Go say hi to our friends back in Detroit. And I took a road trip to Detroit. It took me a day to get there, a day to get back, and I spent a couple of days there. So I was gone for a long weekend. And I came home to our house, everything gone. My wife gone, my kids gone. And at the time, I take that back. This was 1993. My daughters were only 2 years old at the time. They were born in January of 92. This is November of 93. They turned 3 in January while I still had not seen them. My wife disappeared with them. And so we had a long drawn out battle. My wife and I, we ended up fixing things, reconciling. It took a lot of work, got back together, lasted a few years. And then it hit again. And we were finally divorced in 2000 for the separation. So a long story, but yeah, I used the men's rights organizations. They didn't fund anything. They didn't even provide me with a lawyer, but I did talk to a couple of guys and it was very helpful. So let's see. What do I think about the Liber Lilith? I'm not sure if I recognize what that is. The Liber or Liber? I'm assuming it's Liber Lilith. I don't know exactly what that is. Let's look it up. Liber Lilith, a Gnostic grimoire. Let's see. Well, there's a cover of a book. It shows a woman with her bare breasts, and she's all oiled up. That's intriguing. The paperback is $346 or $930, in that range. So, boy, I'm not really quite sure what makes that book worth that kind of money, other than that it's probably out of print. And it's a novel. This says Liber Lilith is a powerful and disturbing novel which charts the disintegration of a German occultist, Carl Steiger, who comes across an ancient grimoire and sets out rites by means of which the great demoness Lilith may be called forth. So that's interesting. So that would be the German. Now that's a novel. Is that what you're talking about, Morgan? The novel that was written? If so, I don't know much about it. I haven't read it. So let's see. Roger asks, why is it that men's rights only seem to exist when children are involved? Outside of that parameter, it never gets talked about much. Well, when I talk to somebody about men's rights and men's stuff and custody battles, we're talking 20 years ago. And that was that it existed. Hey, come over and say hi, Rainey.
No, I don't want to come over and say hi. I'm trying to find that Kindle.
You heard that from her. She didn't want to say hi to you.
I don't want to say hi. I'm crabby.
There you go.
So the Kindle, I found that Kindle, charged it.
Yeah.
Flynn told him to go put it in his backpack so he can take it to school.
Yeah.
I have no freaking clue where it's at.
I hope he didn't lose it at school.
He hasn't gone to school yet.
Oh, since you found that.
Yes.
Because they had Friday and Monday
we
off.
Found it on Saturday.
So somebody took it out of his pack.
No, nobody took it out of his pack. He didn't put it in his backpack. He wandered off, stuck it on the kitchen table. Ellie cleaned off the kitchen table.
Oh.
So we could carve pumpkins. So nobody knows where this is.
Oh, I didn't see it on the kitchen table prior to her cleaning off the table to carve pumpkins. So I hate kids too. All right. Have fun. Come back and say hi if you find it and feel better. Yeah. So there you go. There's the lovely Rainey. And so you can see this is not a typical radio show tonight. So, yeah, Roger, I find that that's where men's rights really kick in. Where they need them the most is when it has been, and it's not so much now as it used to be, but back 20 years ago when I was looking at men's rights or finding an advocate for men's rights, that was a situation where we were just starting to emerge from a period where men had no rights over their children. It seemed. That's the way the courts tended to rule. In a divorce situation, a custody situation, the courts always seemed to rule for the women. Women were looked at as nurturers. Men were looked at as paychecks. And they were the ones that were providing money, not the love and nurturing that a kid needed. And for the most part, there's a lot of that that's still true. But in my situation, some of my story, all of you, I was fighting against that in the system. And I was fighting against the fact that my ex-wife was an alcoholic, was bipolar, was, I think, a very bad parent. And that's what I fought against. And and it was interesting. She had all of her girlfriends that supported her, gave her support. The pastor's wife, for Pete's sake. They all supported my ex-wife. And yet, and I remember the day in court when I won custody. I was given custody by the judge. And I remember the judge saying to my ex-wife in court, and by the way, he reminded me of Wilfred Brimley. Remember him? He talked about diabetes for years, old guy. He was the Quaker Oats guy. He kind of talked like that. He had the big bushy mustache and was bald on top later on, but he was in the movie Cocoon like 35, almost 40 years ago now. But Wilfred Brimley, my judge, I want to say Stone was his last name, but I don't think that's right. I remember him sitting in court, and he was very calm and very direct. And he said to my ex-wife to be, he said, Mrs. Roberts, he says, we're going to take your kids away from you today and give them to your husband. And he's not going to be your husband after this, but he says, I will say this. He says, you are probably one of the worst mothers I have ever had to deal with. And he says, we're going to remedy that today, at least for these kids. And he gave the kids to me. Then he asked what I wanted for child support. And I said, I don't need any child support from her. I don't need her money. And so on that went and so on. And so the advocacy, and I remember when I turned and walked out of the courtroom after that, all of her women friends were back there from the church and they were all glaring at me. They glared at me. And I'm like, hey, sorry, everybody. Show's over. You've been had by my ex-wife. And so, that's why I looked for men's advocates, because I wasn't sure how that was going to go. Even my attorney sat in the middle of that, and he nudged me with his knee under the table, and he leans over and he said, I've never seen anything like this ever happen. He says, you just won your kids. And he says, I've never seen this happen like this before. So it was interesting. So anyway, let's see. Barbara D says, happening to both Scotty and Andy. That's kind of eerie. What's happening to Andy and me? I gotta look back. Oh, his ex. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, she was a little nutty. She was, as I've said, she was good looking. She was cosmopolitan. She was intelligent. But at the same time, she was also an alcoholic. She was also bipolar. My son, my oldest son, my 19-year-old boy, Sam, ran into problems of his own. He left Rennie's in my house back when he was like, I think he was 16, to live with his mom because he thought it'd be easier down there because his mom didn't have any other kids, and it did not go well for him. He got in trouble down there with the law, and his mom pretty much abandoned him, which she's done before. And so he hasn't spoken to her since all of that. Last year, we were at my daughter's wedding, my daughter Bryn, her wedding down in South Carolina. And my son saw his mom, and she walked up and said hi to him, and he just looked at her and didn't say a word, and he turned and he walked away. That's the kind of relationship he has with her now. And he's not going to regret that someday. I think she's going to regret someday, if she doesn't already, that she created that in him. So it's sad. Let's see. Let's see if anybody had anything you want to ask of me. Again, we got Halloween coming up at the end of the week, and I'm going to do some Halloween shows coming up. Rocky and I did a Halloween week type of show, and so we're going to be doing more of those as we go on this week. I'm going to do some of that. So let's see. Oh, I thought that was a question coming in for me. So if anybody's got anything you want to ask me about any of the shows we've done, personal life, junk like that, philosophical, theological, legal, feel free to ask. So, yeah, Wilford Brimley's mustache was iconic. A little too long for me. Even when I grow my mustache out big and I curl the edges, I still have to trim it all up here. I hate having stuff hanging on my lip down into my mouth. Bah. Susie Q, you're looking good, Captain. Hope you're feeling good as well. Well, thank you. I feel like I look old, older than I did. I feel pretty darn good, though. I've got a lot of energy compared to prior to. Now, the way I was over since I had the heart surgery, you'd think I'd be over it, overdone. That was 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years ago, frankly. No, not quite that long. In February, it'll be 4 years. So 3 years, 8 months ago. Over it. It should have been done and over and done. And I was. And then, of course, a year later, I had my hip replaced. And those two things combined just kind of put me under for a while, physically. And I wasn't recovering because everything hurt. And I felt if I'm going to, I had times where everything hurt so much, I'd stand in front of a staircase for 10 minutes in silence for fear of lifting my leg to go up on that first step. That's how afraid of the pain I was. And that was all even over this last year. I had some of that. Doing this show, sitting here and talking is a pretty good front for how I felt. And so I put on lots of weight during that period. And then I found I was dizzy all the time. I was, my equilibrium was for shit. And I really, about 6 months ago, was feeling like my quality of life is zero. And I thought, that's it. It's just, I need to lay down and die. Now, I wasn't feeling sorry for myself. I just didn't feel I had anything left physically. My wife even said to me, we were talking about it the other day. She said, yeah, there's a period where it looked like you had lost the will to live. Now, believe that or not. And so then I had this heart attack 5 weeks ago now. That 5 weeks went fast. And they found that the blood clot and the stent that was put in back when they did the surgery. And they cleared that out, and the dizziness left. The equilibrium is back. My energy is up. Blood flow is working like it's supposed to. And so, and that's all great stuff, because I got to tell you, when blood flow doesn't work, nothing works right. And I will confide this little secret in you. It's nice to have morning wood again. That went away because of the blood flow issue. And so that's back. Hello. So that's the politest way to put that. And so that's a good thing. So life is in the blood. That's right. Yo, 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 pyramid. Oh, I thought you meant like in the morning, Sorry, Susie. You're talking to Pyramid 7. Got it. So, what do you got there? Eggplant. Interesting. So, Pyramid, good to see you. Steve, good to see you as well. Chad Sanders, good to see you. Field Guy, nice to see Morningwood. Yeah. I could just, I could say like we say, it's like I look at Rainey, I nudge Rainey, I go, hey, look, boner. And I didn't even have to work for it. And so, that's, and she's like, don't wake me up. So there you go. So, Leslie, I don't know if you ever told us, but why did you decide to leave the seminary? Oh, that's a pretty easy one. It's not a long story. I left, I was going to a Bible college, and I left because I almost got expelled. And I said, I'm going to withdraw because I'd rather have withdrawn on my school record than expulsion. And now let's put that into context, however. You could say, well, Scotty Roberts, man, he almost got expelled from college. What a nut job. Except this. I went to a Bible college, and this was back in 1980. I was in my junior year. And I was a Bible major. I was a history. I had history and Bible, and I had art as a minor. And I was one of the few because they had just started the art program. And I was dating a woman, and the school had very rigid rules for dating. I mean, this sounds so archaic, but believe it or not, the college where I went, it was Pillsbury Baptist Bible College. Gorgeous campus. 20 acres or so down in Owatonna, Minnesota. Leslie, you might know of Owatonna. And it used to be the old Pillsbury military. It was a military academy in Pillsbury. Same Pillsbury, the Pillsbury Doughboy, the Pillsbury Foods. He was the benefactor for that. And that just retained the name Pillsbury Baptist Bible College, it became. And so some of the old rules for dating, you couldn't touch somebody of the opposite sex. Now, maybe you think nowadays that's like political correctness. That's not what, there was a rule. You couldn't hold hands. You couldn't hug. You couldn't kiss. Oh my God, you couldn't have sex. These are college level kids. If you wanted to date, you had to get permission from the dean of women to date a woman. And if a man was going to take a woman, if we were going to walk downtown, in downtown Owatonna, it's a small town. If we were going to walk downtown and have a cup of coffee, we had to have a chaperone. And it had to be a woman as a chaperone, not a guy. And so there were very strict rules. Well, one day, I was dating this woman. We were both art majors. And or I was an art minor. No, I was an art major. History must have been my minor in college. And we were together in one of the art rooms, which was in the basement of one of these old buildings. A very haunted place, by the way. And I wasn't doing any of the paranormal stuff back then. I wish I had. But there was tunnels underneath and one of the tunnels opened up into this old room in the basement of the old bell tower. And so we're down there, and we're on our way to chapel. We're the only two there. The teacher had taken off. And I leaned in and I gave her a kiss. Kiss on the lips. That was it. We weren't making out. There wasn't slobbery faces or drool hanging off our chins or anything like that. We kissed. And just as we did that, the art teacher walked in. He kind of gave us the evil eye. And a little later in the day, I had another course with him, and he said, I saw what you guys did over in the... I mean, mind you, this sounds like great intrigue, but I saw what you guys did. I'm not going to turn you in. No, that's what you could do. That was a term there. You turned somebody in, they could get demerits. And you could get demerits for a whole host of things. And 100 demerits in a semester, you were campused. Meaning you couldn't leave campus without permission, like a work pass from the dean and stuff like that. 150 demerits, you were shipped or expelled. Now, I had already at this point, I got 75 demerits for kissing my girlfriend. He ended up turning us in. I got 75 demerits. But I had already had, I think, enough demerits that I would have been up to 148 demerits before midterms. Imagine being a college kid and having to worry about demerit systems like that. And I had demerits I had 4 library books that were late. I got 10 demerits a piece for those, 40 demerits. I had, the shirt on my, you had to have it buttoned all the way up except for the top button if you're not wearing a tie. I had 2 buttons open, and I got 20 demerits for that. I got 20 demerits because my hair touched the top of my ear. We were supposed to have trim, neat, fundamentalist Baptist haircuts. And you ask why we attended there? Most of the kids attended there because their parents made them attend there. I did it by choice because I was going to go to the ministry. The school was really, it was launched and owned by our big church. And so I ended up withdrawing. I said, I'm not going to last more than half a semester with only 2 demerits to go for the things I've gotten demerits for. Dust on my bookshelf in my room, because I checked your room during chapel every day in the dorm. Dust on your bookshelf, 3 demerits. If I'd gotten dust on my bookshelf one time, I'd have been expelled. So I told the president, he brought me in. He had tears in his eyes. He knew me personally. And I said, I'd rather have withdrawn than expelled. And so then I went home. This was 1980. And they had, right around the same time, they were launching a new theological seminary. My church was doing that. And you've heard me mention Dr. Charles Ailing before. He was going to be the president of the seminary and the chair of history. And he asked me if I would come to school. He was recruiting. And I said, well, I didn't finish my bachelor's degree. He said, that's okay. He says, we will have you tutored in the balance. I had like 16 credits to go to graduate from college with my bachelor's. He said, we'll tutor you in those alongside starting your seminary workload. Okay. So I agreed. I came on board. I went to seminary for 2 years. And then as that was going along, I never did finish my bachelor's. And I was only, I wasn't a heavy load into graduating from seminary either. And so I was made an offer remember I told you when I was 17 and I went to the high school there at the church, one of the seminary students was running a publishing company. And he had hired me on to illustrate book jackets, dust jackets for his books. And had me working in his studio and then running his printing press and stuff. At age 17, I had a pretty good job. A job as an artist in a publishing shop. And they had moved down to Lynchburg, Virginia, and started a big print outfit, a mail order shop and all of that. And their biggest client at the time, if those of you are old enough to remember, 1982, 83, Lynchburg, Virginia, Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority was their biggest client. And so they were really expanding. They had 20 employees down there running the printing presses, doing the mail shop stuff. They asked me if I would come down and be an art director in their shop. And so I took that and I moved down there. And the option was to stay here, finish my seminary, continue working in the men's clothing store, or go down and take a job as an artist. And I could finish my seminary down at, of all places, Liberty University, which was Falwell's University, which is actually a very good school nowadays. And so I moved down there, never did get enrolled back in school, was down there a couple of years, and ended up moving back up here, taking a job up here. So, Leslie, that's why I left seminary. So I wanted to get into the advertising publishing world, which in 1983, I was 22 years old when I moved down there. So, or was I 23 by that time? So there you go. That answers that question. Sean Bowden was 5 in 1980. You know what else was 1980? My wife was born in 1980. How about that? So, let's see. What else do I have on that? Yeah, okay. Any more questions? That's cool. You can ask them. So it's kind of a free-for-all by the seat of our pants here tonight. So you can ask another question. You're welcome, Leslie. Yeah, probably the best decision I made. Yeah, look at me now. Woo! And I never would have met Rainey if I'd stayed down there. How about that? Of course, that was years later. I think fate has a way of doing what it needs to do. Nice. Is that for you?
No, it's for Flynn for school tomorrow.
Come here. Look at Rainey's new face mask she made for Flynn at school.
But I think it needs an arrow.
There you go. Pie hole. See that? Pie hole.
But I think there should be an arrow. I don't know if there should be an arrow. It's missing something.
Maybe an arrow.
It stinks.
Are those the brand new ones?
Yeah. Well, it's the Sharpie.
Oh yeah, the Sharpie is sharp.
It's
a sharp smell. Yeah. Yeah. Here, hand me that marker. All right.
Ellie.
I want to do a fish.
You want to do a fish?
Where's Ellie?
Maybe
She's
I
way
should.
over there.
Maybe I should do a piece of pie.
Here's Ellie. No. I like the simplicity of that. Pie hole.
Pie hole.
Yeah.
Whew.
I like the simplicity of just the white
Oh, that
Kinda
it's strong. It's
kid
strong.
looking writing on or the black writing on that.
Hey,
Very
Ellie.
nice. Don't draw on this.
Can I draw a fish?
No,
No.
not on there. So, all right.
Yeah. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Leslie. I already talked to her. Hey, Miss Ellie, she says. You're being said hi to. Corey Blake says hi, Ellie. Where are you? Where'd you go?
Right behind you.
Don't wiggle too much.
Oh,
Mama's
yeah,
got
there
the
you are.
marker in her
I
hand.
see you now.
Hey, Mom.
Making a little boulder. Yeah.
All right.
I put nail polish in my Look at my nail.
I
And you
saw
rest up your
those.
nails.
No.
Okay. Let's see. Somebody else had a question in there. Leslie says, don't make light of it. All your talent may well have never seen the light of day. It's very possible, Leslie.
Look at my nails.
Look at those nails.
Oh, yeah. Just what a 5-year-old needs. Artificial fingernails.
They're glue on. They'll fall off by tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah. And you know where I'll find them? Where I always find them. Stuck in the carpet.
No, these aren't. I glued them on it. They're not. They're
Oh,
not
okay.
the sticky. They're not
Okay.
press on. I actually glued them on.
All right.
So they'll start.
Field guy
falling off.
bites his nails. Ick.
Oh, ouch.
Icky habit. I don't anymore. I used to when I was a kid. So, but I don't judge you, field guy. That's what you
I
need to do to
burped. Can you
cope.
smell it?
No, but I'm not trying either.
Taste it. Ugh.
Shrek, I can like taste it. My mouth was open and everything.
Yeah. Hi,
So-
Susie Q. Anybody else? say
Susie
hi?
Q,
Oh,
nervous habit.
Ellie's
I get it. I don't judge. So, if I had a mask, I'd probably write "Go fuck yourself" on it. Nice.
I wanna get. I need one of those circuit machines so I can. I want the blink if you want me. What happened?
Sunday morning again. So this is my family, folks. Those of you who are joining us that don't usually get to see the live shows, this is what happens when I pre-record the show for every night of the week. It's usually during the day when everybody's gone at school.
There was no
So.
school today,
There was no school today, and I did not pre-record.
and I didn't feel good.
And Rainey did not feel good today. Well, she felt great, but she didn't feel good. So there you go.
right,
Badam
well.
ching.
See ya all.
Bye, beautiful. All right. So somebody asked something. Was I in the middle of something? Lucky Stone asked, during your investigations, do ghosts ever talk to you telepathically? You know, probably. I will say probably, but I don't know for sure. That's the thing. One of my problems with doing the whole psychic thing and the telepathic thing is that we'll cut the crap. I'm a creative. That's what I do for a living. I write stories, or I write books. I tell stories. I imagine things in my mind. You know why I talk so much? Because I learned a long time ago, I'm a visual person. I like to draw pictures to tell stories. And that's what I've done for a living. But when I'm talking, I talk like I write. It's like, you know what Shakespeare was a master of? Do you know why he was so wordy and so verbose? Because back then they had to paint the picture with words. They were telling the story with words, and they didn't always have lots of elaborate sets or things. And that's the way why he did what he did, why he wrote the way he wrote. I'm the same way when I talk. I'm the same way when I write. I like to visualize things with words. And so what you could say in 10 words, I take 1,000 to say. So having said all that, telepathically, if I'm picking up something, I've always struggled with, if I'm picking up something psychically, am I picking up something psychically or telepathically, or am I creating that story in my mind? Is it my mind filling in the gaps? Is it a psychological thing? Is it a tool that I use for communication that I would then... And so I found I can't trust that. I don't trust it. I don't know how to trust that. I don't know how to let that go. And all I've heard from lots of people is just let it go. Just go with what comes into your mind and go with that. And I think, but if I do that, and How do I know I'm right? How do I know I'm not giving misinformation to somebody? How do I know if I think I'm hearing a ghost talk in my head, which I do many times? How do I know that's the ghost or the spirit speaking to me and not just me creating that? So there's my long answer to that. I don't know for sure, Lucky. I really don't. Sometimes I go with it and sometimes it's okay. Sometimes I feel it's strong enough. I go, hey, I believe this is what's being said. And it could be sometimes. I will tell you this, when I do readings and tarot readings, things like that, it's supposed to be psychic intuition. Many times I chalk that up to knowing people, knowing how things work. I don't think you can have a good tarot reader or psychic or somebody from somebody who doesn't know how people's minds work, who doesn't know how people work and interact. And so I think having a little bit of a grasp on some of that helps me when I do readings. I understand what people do and why they do what they do and what they like. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be on the mark all the time. Sometimes when I do tarot readings, and by the way, I found my cards. They were in Rainy's backpack. I will get cards and sometimes I'll get a feel off of those cards. I understand what this direction is. So I take off in that direction. And many times you'll hear me say when I've done the readings on Sundays, I'll say, this looks like a relationship issue, is what I'll say. Because all the indicators these are what cards will come forward when there is a relationship issue. And so I will say, now that relationship, that could be your personal, it could be a marriage, it could be a friendship, it could be a family relationship, it could be a relationship with your boss, a job related relationship. But this card over here makes it more personal, or the presence of the coins makes it more material. And so you have to interpret it that way. And so, but many times I'll get things in my head, Lucky, that'll kind of tell me how I should go. Yeah, my only judge is you. I wish my only judge was me. Not to contradict you, I got a million judges out there. And so everything from, it's kind of funny. I never had haters until I entered into a more or less public arena. I said this to somebody. I really started my public paranormal life back when I was doing tarot readings for Darkness Radio, going to the Ghost Hunters events at like the Stanley Hotel, Eastern State Penitentiary, Gettysburg, and places like that. And I do tarot readings at all of these. And that's how I started gaining a reputation. And then Jason and Grant from Ghost Hunters offered me the position of editor-in-chief of their magazine, Taps Para Magazine. And that was in mid to late 2009. If I've got my year right. And I went to work for them for a year and a half to 2 years. And then I stopped and I launched Intrepid magazine, which is where Intrepid came from back in early 2011. So, or late 2011, I'm sorry. Getting my dates mixed up. So, all of that to say, yeah, I've worked at those skills. I've honed those skills. At many of those events, I did a lot of readings. I mean, I would do 15-minute readings at these events, and I would go really from 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, with 15-minute to a half-hour break for lunch, and about a 15-minute break here and there. Go have a cigarette or go get a drink or something like that. And I would go all day, every 15 minutes. So 4 people an hour. I would read times roughly 8 hours a day. And so what's 4 times 8? 32 times 3-day events. I would do almost 100 readings at some of these events. And by the end of the weekend, I was exhausted. But at the same time, at those events, I could take home a nice income. And that's all I did for the month was that event. And then I'd go off to another event 2 weeks later or a month later or so. And I did a lot of these events. So that's how I was making my living. And at the same time, that's how I was honing my skills. And I still like to fall back on the cards. I call them my positive crutch. So, but that's the whole judging thing. That's where that came from. It wasn't until I entered the public field, so to speak, where people started to know who I was, recognize my name. That's when I started getting more enemies and criticism and everything leveled at me. It was crazy. It's like politics now. I'm everything from a Nazi to a homophobe to a xenophobe to whatever, because that fits people's arguments. So whenever you get a little bit of limelight, there's always somebody struggling to push you out of it so it shines on them. And I went through a lot of that throughout the years there. I remember sitting on the front veranda of the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, sitting looking at the mountains. It was a gorgeous day. Rosemary Ellen Guiley was sitting next to me. Chris Fleming was sitting next to her. John Zaffis was sitting next to him. And there were a couple of other people that were the special speakers there that week. And we're all talking, and they're all asking me questions. How am I? What am I up to? And they're all talking about this kind of stuff. And I said, I don't have any haters. And I felt like, hey, nobody hates me. I got a lot of people like me. And I remember it was John Zaffis. He went like this. He goes, oh, you will have. And he was laughing, but being a little cynical with that. And you know what? He was absolutely right. And there were people that ended up hating me. Some of it for jealousy, some of it for, which was just still mystifies me. And some of it was for misinformation, things like that. So, and some of that you can't get over. Some of it were my own mistakes. I made mistakes, and people ended up hating me. And I'm not talking about reading mistakes like psychic stuff. I'm talking about just making mistakes and doing things and handling myself the right way. I made mistakes, but never with the intent to hurt anybody. But, it always leaves people wanting to think you're something else. And Jason, how you doing? Good to see you. Nice to have you here. Jason Graham. And let's see what else we got. So many people were killed with a great slaughter. Maybe that's why the past energy is so high. Maybe so, Matthew. Maybe so. Niall says, heard you speaking about Lilith. The Gnostic view is that Lilith was not a wife of Adam, but a representative of the actual creator, the demiurge. Yeah, I think perhaps you could water that down even a little bit more and say she was a goddess. She was the goddess. Perhaps the Shekinah was a form of Lilith. Very much so. So let's see. I wonder if people have ever seen the ghosts of people of antiquity, such as Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and many others. I know people who say they have. You talk to Delaney Jones, who comes in here. She's got a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on. So I had somebody who was a psychic medium. I haven't talked to her in a while. Very low key. She wasn't out there pushing her wares, although she did some psychic readings. You wouldn't have known it. To look at her, she looked like and dressed like and lived like somebody who was like a off-duty nun, was the impression she gave. And I don't mean that in a bad, negative sense, a negative connotation. She was, when I knew her and talked to her a lot, she was approaching middle age, and she was a simple person. She was a very good person. She was good financially. She hired me to do some work for her, and I did that. And she was not an overt person, like you would see somebody needing the limelight. She's not like that. And so I didn't even know she was a psychic at first. And we were talking one night, a long time ago. And I had mentioned, I don't know how the topic came up. I had mentioned Humphrey Bogart. I was a huge Bogart fan. And I said, man, I said, if there was anybody, and it wasn't a leading question, I wasn't trying to get anything from her. I said, man, if there's anybody, I would love to sit down and have a drink and a conversation with Humphrey Bogart. And she said, you know, I could contact him for you. I said, you can do that? She said, yeah. He said, matter of fact, she said, he's here right now. And she gave some greeting. He said some words of greeting to me, and said a couple of things back and forth. And she had me pulled right into that. I believed she was talking to him. Now, she didn't have any reason to lie to me. She was either delusional on one hand, or she was actually talking to him on the other hand. So talking about ghosts of famous people or historical people, I think that there are people that can communicate with those people. I think this woman communicated with Humphrey Bogart. And there's no way to prove it. Highly subjective. But people who can speak to historical figures, can they do it? I think so. So, let's see. I see your question, Niall. Is that directed at me? Has my ex-wife died? Are you talking to somebody else? I have to go back and look and see some of the things that were said. The goddess. Boom. Yep. Susie, the goddess. That's what I think. Jason said he never saw a ghost. I've seen ghosts. Never that I mistook. It wasn't anything like in the movies. It wasn't like, and there was this man, he was standing there looking at me and wearing what looked like, an 18th century frock coat, and then he disappeared. And now I've never seen anything like that, but I have caught things on camera. I have seen things. I've been touched by things. We were in a house. I remember this is very distinct when I say I was touched. In a house, just a regular little residential house. They thought they had some hauntings, and I was laying down on the bed in a bedroom, and I had a device that read electrostatic energy, and I wasn't taping for EVPs at that time. I wish I had been. And I was sitting there, and there was a hamster in an aquarium over on top of the dresser. And that hamster started going nuts, just screeching and bouncing all over the cage. And as he did that, my electrostatic meter went way up, almost off the scale. And then he stopped, and it stopped. And I said, wow, is somebody in here? And I'm getting chills up my arms. I don't know why. But I said, is anybody in here with me? And I felt somebody do this. They took their fingers and right here, ran their fingers through my much thicker hair back then. That was about 10 years ago. Ran their fingers through my hair. And I said, somebody just ran their fingers through my hair, folks. I'm yelling out to the house because people were in other parts of the house from our team. I said, yep, there's something here. Somebody wants to come in here and run some tests along with me. And I said, and somebody just ran their fingers through my hair. So there you go. I've had experiences, let's put it that way. You once found a broken piece of stoneware, said Steve, and picked it up and saw a log cabin burning. A little girl killed, a woman killed, a man killed, a little boy taken by somebody. Very possible, Steve. That's, what do they call that when you touch something and you get imagery off of it? There's a term for that. Not a clairvoyant type of word, There's something. Somebody find out what that is. When you touch something and you get psychic images off of it, what is that? Ghosts are messages to yourself from yourself via dream and shadow. Maybe some of them are, Niall. Can you say that with all certainty that encompasses all ghosts? Or maybe there are ghosts that our mind brings to us to say, there's a lesson I need to learn from that. Psychometry, by the way, that's the word. Psychometry. Psychometry. I think that's how you spell it. I just put it into the chat room. So psychometry is when you touch something and you get images off of it. It's like I bought this at a garage sale, a set of these. It's just a little palm tree, brass or bronze. They're very heavy. And I bought these at the Goodwill. I was there. If I could take this, I wish I could take this and touch this and say, I get this imagery. What do I get off of this right now? If I were to touch this. I saw water. I saw a kid in a life preserver, a ring life preserver. Like fun. And that's what I saw. That's the first image that came to my mind. Now, what do I do with that imagery? I wasn't trying to think of making up an image, but that's the image I saw in the back of everything in my head. What's that mean? Does that mean, is there anything to that? I have no idea. I have no way of knowing. So there's all kinds of things. You can look at almost anything and you touch them and you can get messages off of them. So, Matt, I don't know what you're telling me is correct, but thank you. Let's see. It means you need to take the kids to the ocean. There you go. I probably do. Or the Lake Michigan dunes, one or the other. Or Duluth, which is 2 hours from here. I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. Now that my wife isn't in here, I didn't want her to think I remembered. Tomorrow, Tuesday, the 27th, my 13th wedding anniversary with Rainey. And so I've got nothing special planned. I've had a pretty low income month, and I wish I'd have planned something 6 months ago, and I didn't. But we'll get something done, something good. But I'll make something up for her nice, and I'll do a nice announcement on social media and things like that. But I would like to send her to a spa for 2 or 3 days, just a whole weekend, Friday through a Sunday, and do something like that for her. I got to look into that. And so, but it's our anniversary tomorrow. 13 years. We've been together since we weren't together, but we hung out a little bit in November of 2004. I remember that. It was my 44th birthday. And Rainey came to the birthday. She'd be coming to Scotch and Cookies, little hangout at my place. And we weren't dating yet. And she was, I think, still dating somebody else. But we hit it off at my birthday party. And I remember when she and her friend were leaving the next morning, her girlfriend, and there were a few people that had stayed overnight. And I said, I called her and I said, I really want to get to know you better. And so that was November of 2004. And we started dating, hanging out, summer of 2005. And she basically lived with me. She had her own house. I had my own house. Here she was 20. Let's see, she was born in 80, and it's August of 2005. She was 25 years old, and she had her own house. It was a nice little house. I had a house, a bigger house over in a different part of town, and she pretty much lived with me for the next 6 months. And then we kind of broke up because I was a dick. And I was fine with the sex and fine with hanging out and all of that. But I didn't want a relationship. Oh, no. I had to keep her at arm's length. And I'm not ever doing that again. I said, I'm never getting into a relationship again. Not doing it. And I pushed her away for 6 months. And she still stuck around. And I was like, oh boy, I've got this gorgeous woman living at my house, sleeping in my bed, knowing my kids, wanting to be here, and I didn't want to have her. I didn't want it. And so she finally said, okay, I'll be done. And a couple of days later, she sent me a message and said, I'm going to come over and pick up all my stuff I left over there. And she came over. I remember what she was wearing. She was jeans. She had on what would be like a men's white dress shirt, button down Oxford cloth, and sleeves rolled up, long, gorgeous hair she has. And she's packing up stuff. And as she's there, I wanted to talk to her. And what happens? There's some woman that's 20 years older than Rainey, my age, therefore. Kind of a hot older woman, cougar type, you might say. And she happens to stop over at the very same time. And now I'm being very candid with you here. It's a personal story. She's intimating that she would love to have sexual relations that day, that moment, if there wasn't somebody else there in the house. And we should go out for coffee afterwards and stuff. And she's there. And all I could think of is, I want her gone because I want to talk to Rainey. And I said, look, I said to my friend, I said, can't do anything today. I said, I've got some plans. And I could see on her face was the, really? Okay. And well, so she left. And I remember at that point, that's when I got on my knees in front of Rainey. And I said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said, you know, one thing that I have come to determine, I said, is that I love you and I don't want to live without you. I don't want my life without you. And I got on my knees in front of her. I didn't propose, but I said, will you please not leave? And you know what she did? She stayed. And that was about the same time I said to my daughters, I said, look, I think I had this conversation with my daughters before this happened with Rainey. And I said, you know what? I said to my daughters, I said, and at the time they were 14-ish, my twin daughters. And I sat down with them and I said, you know what? Your dad's been kind of a royal fuck up. Pardon my French for those of you who do not like hearing that, but I think the context is good. And at that time, I was pretty wild and carefree. I was, what was that? That was 2005. So that's 15 years ago. And yeah, I'm 60. I'm going to be 60 in a couple of weeks. But even at 44 at the time, going on 45, I thought I looked pretty young, carried myself off. Most people thought I was in my early 30s. I was in great shape, looked good and so on. And so I had a lot of attention. Let's put it that way. And my daughters saw women coming and going through my doors, like a revolving door in a way. But I also had sole custody of my kids at this time. So my kids lived at home. And so while they saw some of this, I was trying to be very careful at the same time. But I sat them down and I said, look, I want to tell you something. I said, I've fucked up as your dad. And I said, I haven't been a good dad. And I said, I owe you better than that. And so I'm going to change that now. And it was not long after that that I said what I said to Rainey. I said, look, I love you, and I don't want you to go. And that was, and she's, as I could say rather tongue-in-cheek, she hasn't left since. So, anyway, there you go. That's a little highly emotionally charged for a story, and that came off as somebody's question. I don't know how I segued into that, but because we were talking about ghosts and we were talking about other things. So there you go. Psychometry, Steve, is what that was. Susie Q, psychometry. Let's see. What else we got in here? Niall, yep, it was me. Go back down. Niall. Might have happened to me to make life interesting for me, says Steve. Niall says, sorry, man, missed the story. We'll check back. Barbie D, beautiful story. You and Rennie both lucked out. Yeah, we did. And again, like I talked about the other day, we still have our ups and downs. But I know I love Rainey with all my heart. That will never end for me. Is that just because I'm getting old? I would like to think not. Because I don't see myself that way. I don't see myself as getting older. Despite knowing that I'm growing older, I don't see myself that way. I wish I had more hair on my head, and I wish it was as dark as it used to be. And I wish I was as skinny as I used to be. Those three things, and you wouldn't know much different. I don't think much differently than I ever had my whole life. I think the same way I used to think when I was 20. I mean, I was a serious-minded kid when I was 20. I was in college. I was going to seminary. I knew what my life goals were. So, other than that, I haven't changed a whole lot. So, I think I hate moralizing too much. There's probably stuff we can all take from this. Stuff I can take from it certainly every day. I think that there's times, I mentioned earlier tonight, there was a time not long ago my wife thought I'd just kind of given up. I had no will left. My will to improve was gone. My will to expand my business, my efforts on things, gone. Not accomplishing much. I went through that first half of this year. I don't know if you noticed it, but radio shows were about all I was doing other than what it took to just get ahead and keep my head above the water. So what did Niall say here? Forgive me, I believe the land remembers, but for an object to hold it would cause great loss of blood and life, so that area has probably been sacred, Steve. Yeah, I might agree with that, Niall. I agree with that. Matthew Sainsbury, the first year he had his birthday, and his birthday was in lockdown. I think you joined a lot of people with that one, Matthew. So anyway, I've lapsed into kind of maudlin self-stories. That's not what I meant to do here, but that segued off of some questions that you asked. So there it is. And, I noticed it's already 10:15. If you want to go a little bit more, we can. I hate cutting into Jimmy Johnson's time to overlap, but, you can all go there. You can all stay here. You can all do both. Totally up to you guys. So what's the vision for the direction of the radio show? And maybe your new plans for the expansion? Well, the expansion for this, what I'm doing on YouTube by having memberships now is going to just expand. It's a way to, and I'll be honest, cut through all the bullshit, It's a way to generate revenue. Who knows how much that will generate? Maybe 10, 15 bucks, maybe a lot. It's a way to generate revenue, but it's a way to draw attention to the show, to say there's something special here, I think, that I can offer you that's something different than what we normally get on a 1-hour radio show that also airs on Odyssey. Perhaps this could be something where I can offer you up a little more information, something a little tighter, a little deeper than is beyond the radio. Question and answers like I offered tonight was going to be one of the things that was going to be part of that. Yeah, you got to take a lap once in a while. Yeah. A lap dance? I'll call my wife. And Barbie's got to go. Thanks, Barbie. Enjoyed having you here. You take care tonight, too. And who? Jimmy's field guy? He seems to have some pretty good topics every now and then. I have not watched the Mulan 2020 movie, Matthew. I refuse to watch something on my television via the internet that I got to pay $30 to watch. I'm not a skinflint. I'm not overly stingy with my money that way. I tend to be a little carefree for something I want to see. I wanted to see that movie, but damn it, because of the COVID stuff, they didn't release it in the theaters. They had to make their money back on it. I get that. And so they charged $29.99 to rent the movie online on the Disney Channel. And I said to Rainey, I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay $30 to watch a movie that in 6 months is going to be out on DVD and I can go buy it for $29 and I'll own it. I love the big screen. I love cinema. I love the big screen and the big sound. I'm a maven for that stuff. And I was planning to go see that, but I had a problem with it. I'm not going to spend... If you're going to make it accessible to people on their television sets, not everybody's got a 7-foot-long TV. I think ours is a 65. No, our big one is a 60-inch. We could get a 70-inch. I'm lusting after a 70-inch right now to put on the big wall in the living room. Sold on sale for $800 at the local Walmart. A smart TV with a 4K capabilities and screen and all the junk on it. $800 for a 70-inch TV? No, 75-inch TV. And I thought, sold, but I didn't have $800 to spend on a TV. So otherwise I'd have done it, you know? And so, yeah, I refuse to rent Mulan for that reason. I'll see it eventually. So, yeah, I talk as I create. Imagination, wonder. On the flip side, it also makes you more sensitive. Yeah. Ain't that the truth? Niall, that's the truth. And I need to paint and illustrate more like you do, Niall. I don't get much chance to illustrate the things that I feel. And my illustration is all commercial to keep a roof above my head. And if I had time to draw emotionally, I should be using that time to drum up more business to make sure we can get ahead. And I'm not talking about by getting ahead. I mean, we've got a minivan right now that it is a 2007 Chevy Uplander. Big van. It's nice. Still looks nice. It's the color of this shirt. And it's got, I was looking tonight as I was driving my son to Scouts. It's got 314,000 plus miles on it. 314,000 miles. And knock on wood, That thing will last a little bit. We had a Mercedes, nice Mercedes sub SUV. Fit the whole family. Black leather interior, sharp looking car. But it was starting to have some problems. It had a problem. The engine light kept coming on, and we couldn't figure out what it was. We took it in. Guy said, it'll cost you $1,200 just to have me tear it apart and find the problem. He says, but what I think it is, the sensor. He said, I think you might have a major problem cooking here. And I think that was the, what do you call it? The, not rods, it was something else. The drive shaft? Not the drive shaft. It was something else. It was major. It was like a $3,000 fix. Now, we weren't even sure that's what the problem was. The guy just said, that's what that engine light may indicate. And he says, you know what I do? He says, I take it and sell it while you can. It's a good looking car. And so we put it up. We got $3,500 for it, something like that. And so we've been looking loosely for another vehicle, a used vehicle. Could we go buy a brand new one? Sure. I don't want to put myself in debt on a brand new car. I don't want to have a car payment. So, we're looking for something good and used. And we'll come up with something eventually here. So, and I don't know why I brought that up. How did I get on cars? Something that somebody said, got me onto that. We were talking about Niall, about painting, drawing for emotion's sake, and doing those things, and how when I have time to do it for emotion's sake, I don't take that because I'm usually trying to expand my business to make sure I have enough coming in to cover everything. And now that my wife is working and doing massage work, she started her own massage therapy company or business with her friend who does it. Those two women doing the massage therapy, I think they could take over the world. They're going to be fantastic. And that's the Two Loons massage. If you look up Two Loons massage, I was going to do that the other day. Here, look. I'll show you. Two Loons. Right there. Now, there's not much to it yet. But this is the page I'm helping them put together over on Facebook. And here, you can go here. If you're on Facebook, go to that link. And you can see what they're doing, what they're putting together. And we still have to put a little beef on this yet. And see if this is, this is a good direction. They don't have a studio. They don't have that overhead and stuff like that. So, right now, my wife could potentially doing massage the way she's doing it right now. She's working only part-time at this. She does maybe like tomorrow. She didn't have work today. She didn't have work on Sunday. She had a massage on Saturday, a massage or two on Friday. She could do, a massage therapist can do 5 massages a day. And that's 5 hours of physical labor, massaging somebody. Rennie can do 3 or 4 right now. So if she did 3 massages a day and took home roughly $210. If she did that 5 times a week, you do the math. That's $1,500. That's $1,500 a week times roughly average 4 weeks a month. That's $6,000 a month. Now she's going to have to pay tax on that money. But when you are an independent contractor, there are ways that you can find tax breaks so you don't have to pay everything out in tax. You don't have to pay 50% of that. So that's a pretty good income. So if she's doing that and I'm doing this, we've got ways to get ahead and to be there. She hasn't worked for 10 years and now she's working again. She feels pretty damn good about it. And I'm really proud of her. So, and why do we work? Let me ask you something. Would you work at your job if you did it for free? Or would you find something else to do with your time? The company that you work for right now, would you give them your time for nothing? Would you go, I love this so much, I'd be doing this if I didn't get paid for it? If you didn't need money to exist, would you do that job? Or would you invest your time and yourself into something else? So, yeah, you'd work, but not in the capacity I do it. Not the same way, yeah. You have to put in X number of hours a week and make sure you get those hours in. So you get the pay check that you need, you get the benefits you need, et cetera, et cetera. And right now, I haven't worked for anybody else other than my clients. I haven't worked for a company since before I knew Rainey. And I would probably, last time I worked for a company, I enter companies with this attitude of, I will give you my best damn work. But the minute you make me feel like I need you to exist and that I owe you for giving me a job is the day I'll walk out. Last time I left a job, I said to the employer, I was a creative director in a company. I said, you know what? I don't need your job that bad. I said, I can do this on my own. And so call it cocky, whatever it might be. That's the way I've been. So, Matt, you say you work 40 to 50 hours a week. That's been your standard for a long time. Yeah. And I get that. I work that. But what do they say about entrepreneurs? My daughters agree with this too. You're willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40. You get what that means, don't you? You have a full-time job for a company, you got to give them 40 hours a week. Well, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to work for yourself, you're willing to work 80 so you don't have to go work 40 for somebody else. I'll work 80 before I go work 40. So there you go. Niall, Susie's telling you love and peace. Are you taking off? I'm used to it, but thank you. It's very attuned. Guilt complex combined with just not talking about it. I missed part of the conversation. I apologize. So, yeah, field guy, that works too. I'd rather work 0 and get paid 1,000. Yeah, that works. But you'll find that only works for a certain amount of time. Like right now, let's say the hypothetical. If I was one of those guys that won the lottery, let's say you had $200 million in the bank. What'd you do with that? Would you still go to work? I can tell you what, I wouldn't work the way I work now, but I'd still work a lot. I'd probably work a lot more and I'd work differently. I'd said if I had money like that sitting in the account, there's a couple of different things I would do. And I would employ people doing it. There was a time back in 2008 when Rainey and I were looking at building the replica of Shakespeare's Globe Theater from 1599 and doing it on our property, the ranch that we had, and building some cottages and different things on that land that would make that an event place, only pristine. We would keep the hills there and the trees and the forest and all of that. And in the open pasture land is where we'd have the Globe and other things around there, and keep it very pristine and a corporate retreat type of thing, but then also the public theater, the open air theater. And so we looked into that. I would do something like that and employ 30 people. I've always wanted to start a comic book company. I might start something like that and employ a bunch of people. Rainey and I have always wanted to do certain things that would employ people and do things that we want to do. Rainey wants to start a berry patch. I want to start a lavender field. Believe it or not. Number one, because it's profitable. Number two, because I enjoy that back to nature type of feel of things. The simplicity of what that would be. Although there's difficulties in raising anything. So it's profitable, but it's a simpler thing in life to do. I would do those things. And then I'd be busy traveling. I'd be busy photography. I'd be busy publishing. I'd be busy painting and drawing and writing. Be a hell of a lot of busy I'd do if I had the means to just do that. But like everybody else, we're all kind of stuck in this matrix of having to make sure we make a living so we can live. Let's see. What else we got in here? Morgan Snow, I'm not sure if you're talking to me or somebody else there about the year we were born. Field Guy said, I'd buy the store I worked at and took chaos out. Yeah, see, there's stuff we can do. My wife wants to start a 501c3 and start a thrift store and do some stuff like that. What would you do if you had the ability to just do it? And then, if it's many times it all gets caught up in the money aspect. But what if you could take and do something right now? What's the thing you want to do? What prevents you from doing it? Is it the not having the money to do it? There are ways to get money. There are ways to find investors. Is it the, oh man, I don't know if I can step out and do that because I'd quit my job. Who knows what the success rate is? Well, so what? You can get fired from a job too. It's like I've said with my mantra, 20 years from now, you'll regret more of the things you didn't do than the things that you did do. I experienced some of that at pushing 60 right now. There's things I could have done when I was 40 that I didn't do that I wish I had. How about you? How old are you? Are you 35? The things you could have done 20 years ago at 15, at 20, at 25, 10 years ago? If you're 40, what if you're 43? Take any age and say, do you have those regrets that say, it's like the thesis of the 20 years from now, you'll regret more of the things you didn't do than the things you did do? So cast off from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. That's what life's supposed to be. Okay, Morgan. Yeah, we are a lot alike. Susie Q, 55. Try not to have regrets. Only remember the purpose and the vision and the rest and the reason I did it. Have no regrets at all and say, 20 years from now, today, this moment, I don't want to have the regrets to say 20 years ago when I was 55 or 60 or whatever age you are today, I should have done something then that I didn't do. Matt Finn says, although come back to this safe harbor Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's right. Thank you, Matt. So there you go. We can go on an hour and a half. I hope you've all enjoyed this little format that we did tonight. If I do a live show, it's not going to be like this every time. It'll be more structured. But being live gives me the ability to, you have the ability to seeing me now. I don't think there's even a delay in this unless YouTube has a built-in delay of 30 seconds. I don't know for sure. But Morgan Snow, no regrets except not going skydiving. You can still do that, honey. You know it. So, what's stopping us? Ask yourself that question. What prevents me from doing the thing I want to do? Now we all got, so there's health problems, there's money problems, there's all kinds of things we can chalk things up to. I get that, and I understand that. Right now, there's some things I would love to do that I can't do. You know why? I've got a wife and family. Even if it was just something with my wife and I, right now we've got 3 kids. We have a hard time finding time to go out for dinner with friends, let alone do some of the things we want to do. But what if we, for an adventure, would say we wanted to do something and take our kids along with us? Let's go on an adventure. What does it take? You got to find a way to sustain yourself as you go. Or you've got to build up enough that you can knowingly budget yourselves and sustain yourselves for X number of months and years to go do your thing. Like I say, I've always wanted to buy a huge ass motor coach. I'm not talking an RV or a camper. I'm talking a motor coach. I'm talking about, the mansion on wheels. And storing a lot of stuff that we have. Get rid of it or store what we want to keep. Take what you only need and can fit in a motor coach. Pull my kids from public school, teach them, homeschool them, and take that motor coach and drive all around the country. Now, we couldn't cross an ocean with it. Well, we could, but let's stick to domestic. Drive across the country, see things, go see our history, our historic places, go see our national heritage, our natural heritage. I'd love to do that and just drive all over the place. I could make my living doing the things I do now, I could do from a motor coach. All I need is a satellite hookup to get online and my cell phone. You know what? I could work anywhere. When I worked in Utah 2 winters ago, and I was there for 5 months in Utah, working for a roofing company, I lived in a trailer, not a trailer park trailer, a trailer RV that you tow behind a fifth wheel. And it was a smaller one. I lived in that with a buddy of mine for 5 months. And I did my roofing stuff. And you know what? I still did logo design and stuff like that. Book cover design. All that I did right there on the little table in the RV. So I can work anywhere and do that. So what keeps us from doing that? It's making that step. That's a big step for a family. But you know what? You can do whatever you want to do. There's nothing that prevents you from doing the things you want to do. Was life meant to be enslaved to somebody else? Or was life meant to take life by the horns and just do it? Do it. Do what makes you the happiest without hurting others, of course. Curtis Slepica says, for me, doing different things is fear. For me, doing different things is fear, yeah. You mean fear of doing something different, Curtis? Because I think there's a lot of us that have that. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do something bold. And I'm going to step out and do something completely different than what I've done before. And you can look at that and be afraid of it, which it brings up natural fear. You say, what about the what if list could be a mile long? But what if you just said, you know what? Doesn't matter. I'm going to do those things. I'm going to cast off from the safe harbor. Because 20 years from now, I don't want to regret not doing the things that I could have done. Morgan said that's something you want to do when we retired. I've wanted to do this since I was like 30. I had this idea back when I was 30. You know? I want to go on the road with my family and go do this stuff. Before I met my wife, who we were married for 12 years and divorced 20 years ago now, the woman who gave me my twin daughters and my oldest son, just before I met her, I remember sitting in my pastor's office, just talking, bullshitting. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I think I'm going to sell the junk I have, store the stuff I don't have. I'm going to get a good camera. I'm going to stock up my prepaid credit card. I'm going to take a boat to Great Britain. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to walk around Europe and take pictures and then write a book. And he said, do it, man. He said, do it. And then, of course, I met my ex-wife somewhere along the way there. And that stopped all of that. But, yeah, there's things I've always wanted to do. Some of them I haven't done. Are there things that you want to do, things that you want to do that you haven't done? And what keeps you from doing it? Is it the fear? As Curtis said, we have those fears that prevent us sometimes from stepping out. And, or can you take that fear and push it aside? I think that's what fear is for. It's to overcome. Thanks, Matt. He said, you find yourself in my neck of the woods. You've got a good driveway to park in on your way through. Thank you, brother. We may do that. We may do that. Rainey's got fear of that, I think. But I think she would do it just as heartily. If we could pull it off, she'd probably be right on board with that. We've talked about it several times, but never talked about actually doing it. We've talked about the idea of it. And so that would be, okay, do we put our efforts into getting a new mortgage for a new place, get that land and that 10 acres or 20 acres and build the house that we want to build there? Or do we put that money into a motor coach, travel around? I think Rainey would like to be grounded. And so that's where my goals will go. And remember, when you're with somebody and you love somebody, you give yourself to somebody, your goals change. Sean said, I had no kids until I was 37. I've been a single father for almost 4 years and I've never been happier. There you go. I didn't have kids until I was 31. My daughters came along when I was 31 years old, my twin daughters. And I was divorced when they were 9. And I was granted sole custody of them and their little baby brother who was born that year. And as you've all heard that story before. And Sean, I was like you, single dad with sole custody of my kids. And their mom would visit them every other weekend, take them on a visit. And I was doing that for 4 years, almost 5 years when I met Rainey. So there you go. All right, guys. Got a bus to remodel. I'm going to travel when hubby retires, says Marie Keithley. That sounds like fun. But don't you wish you didn't have to wait till you're retired to do that? I want to do it when I'm young and vital. I don't want to do it when I start getting old and not able to move as fast and do the things the way I used to. Although maybe that's what that's for. Why can't we do the things that we save for retirement when we're young? Then enjoy other things when we're retired. Just a thought. So, all right. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes. So let's wrap this up for tonight. Yeah, we thought about doing that too, Matt. Renting one. Yeah, Steve, I've heard that a million times. You're only as old as you feel at heart, or young as you feel at heart. Very true. I agree with that. And my brain has never really gone past my youthful stage. It's been tempered by age. It's been forged in the fires of aging. And so, yeah, I agree with that, though, Steve. And you're only as old as you feel? Well, the only problem with that is most guys who die of heart attacks are guys who felt that they felt young enough to do things like when they were 30, but they're really 62. You know, that's the problem. You have to be healthy enough to live that belief as a way of life. So I love the show tonight too, Sean. Thanks. I'm glad you were here. And everybody, I thank you for being here. Thanks for... Oh, but you didn't think I could talk for an hour and 45 minutes. You know me better than that. So tomorrow night, we should be back to our normal format. Tomorrow night, it'll be a pre-recorded show, but earlier in the day tomorrow. So it'll be the same day, and I'll be here in the chat room tomorrow night. I've got a few things I have to do tomorrow. And so other than that, we'll be back here same time, same channel, 9 p.m. tomorrow night, Central Standard Time. So you all have a good night. Think about some of the things that we've talked about. Take them to heart. Make this show worthwhile rather than just me talking and you listening and giving some feedback in the chat room over here. Take it to heart. Give me some things tomorrow that you've thought of. Take to heart all the stuff about your life, where you should be, where you should go, what you want to do, how you do it, how you attain it. And go from there. We'll talk about this some more another time. So you guys have a good night. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your presence. Now you can scram. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Good night.